First of all, a shout out to Anna Wallace Johnson for turning me onto Fernanda Melchor's Hurricane Season. I'll put a link to her channel down below. Hurricane Season is a tremendous book, and I'm really quite hesitant to say much about it because I want you, as ever, to have as unadulterated an experience with it as I did with the book. The only thing I knew about Hurricane Season going into it was just that Anna Wallace Johnson put it on her most disturbing books list, and I'm just on a quote-unquote disturbing books kick at the moment. I don't know, I just love it. It's like adding chili to a dish, right? What do you guys think? Do you guys like disturbing books? Let me know down below. So let's just dive into it. This is a no-spoiler review of Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor.
Like, share, subscribe.
Fernanda Melchor is a Mexican writer, best known for her second book, Hurricane Season, which won a whole slew of awards, including 2019's Anna Seeger's Prize, 2019's International Literature Award, and on top of that, in 2020, it was shortlisted for the International Booker Prize, and in 2021, it was shortlisted for the International Dublin Literary Award. All three of Melchor's books, her first, Aquí no es Miami, her third, Paradise, has been translated into English from the original Spanish by Sophie Hughes. Link below. And Sophie Hughes has to get a special shout out because her translation is magical. She really nails it. She really does. Hurricane Season was also nominated for the 2020 International Book Award for Translated Literature. And even if you just read one page, you will totally understand why. Suffice it to say that Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, or Temporada de Huracanes, is a critical darling. And as I said earlier, I had no idea about that. I only knew that Anna Wallace Johnson put it on her most disturbing books list. Okay, so there is a character called the Witch, and she dies. Hurricane Season is a non-linear narrative from different characters' perspectives about the witch's death. And all of it is set in this dirt poor Mexican town, fictional, I think, called La Matosa. So Hurricane Season is short, and it's barely 200 pages long, but it really portrays unabashedly, unashamedly, without any reservation. But also, it's not gratuitous. And it portrays the violence, the misogyny, the drugs, the homophobia, the corruption, the destitution, the lack of hope, the desperation, the addiction, all of those things, and all of the vile, despicable things that we as humans are capable of. The entire book is only 8 chapters long, and each chapter is from the perspective of a character. But here's the thing. Once a chapter begins, there are no paragraph breaks. The chapters come like a torrent. It's like a deluge. You're going to be drowned in the character's world. And stylistically speaking, as an artistic choice, even though it's unconventional, it really, really works. You know, I can't actually find the quote anymore, but some critic called Fernanda Melchor a ventriloquist, and I thought, well, that's really interesting. And he or she is totally right, because the chapters from these characters' perspective they're just like a fever dream word vomit. It's almost as though the character is sitting right next to you, and they're all cracked up, and they're just talking. On top of the non-linearity and the character perspective word vomit, the writing style sort of mimics how we as humans talk normally. We don't always talk in full sentences, in paragraphs, or even with coherent ideas. You know what I mean? We interrupt our own thoughts, we interject with something we just remembered, we go off on weird ass tangents, and then we bring it back around again, hopefully. So, when each chapter begins, it doesn't always pick up from where the last chapter left off. It just kind of starts like a normal conversation. mid-conversation, in media res, and you just gotta put on your seatbelt, strap in, pay attention, and just work out where in the overall narrative you are. And yeah, it's a bit confusing, but that's the whole point. I mean, the book is called Hurricane Season, and reading it really is like being caught in a hurricane. You're just being spun around and around and around and around, and you're kind of disorientated, you're kind of dizzy, and it just takes a while to figure out where you are. And I love it when books do that, when like the effect and the title and the way it's written, it just all aligns. But the real coup de grace is how Fernanda Melchor messes with time on a larger scale, not just on the smaller scale of this happens, then this happens, and we're just like, what's happening again? But on a larger scale, on a scale of, wait, when is this actually set again? There's a sense of timelessness to Hurricane Season, and by that I mean it's like it exists outside of time. It exists without time. It is at once folklore and not. It's very superstitious with like a touch of magical realism, and it's well informed. Like Fernanda Melchor used to be a journalist and a nonfiction writer. It's genre bending. On the one hand, it's like a cynical, scathing take on society. On the other hand, it's very clearly a whodunit. How did the witch die? And so looking at it on that scale, on the scale of time, on the time scale of time, it is also like being in a hurricane, because is it a contemporary critique? Is it a folklore? Is it kind of fairy tale-y? You know, whatever the case, it's almost as though what the book is saying is that all of those despicable things that we do and all of the problems we have in a society, it's as though the book is saying they've always existed. They've always happened. At whatever point in history you look, that has always happened. It's just what we as humans do. Interesting tangent, actually. Another disturbing book that I've read recently is Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. I'll put a link to my review on that down below. And this might just be a coincidence, but like how in Hurricane Season, there are no paragraphs. There was a distinct lack of punctuation in Blood Meridian. It had paragraphs, mind you. It was really just no quotation marks and just commas. The punctuation in Blood Meridian was the violence. Like the text was punctuated by violence. So is it just a coincidence that quote unquote disturbing books, that these two disturbing books lack punctuation? Like, is it a device that disturbing books use to make people feel uneasy by eschewing convention? What do you guys think? Let me know down below. But otherwise, that's it. Go pick up a copy of Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor. It is a tremendous book. It's very short, it's very quick to read, and Sophie Hughes does an incredible job translating it.
Like, share, subscribe.